are behaving and how we can actually manage their behavior in the class. So it is not about controlling behavior. So the time has gone when we used to control our students in class. We need to manage our students in class nowadays. And the first word of today's session is classroom. So what do we understand by this word classroom? Basically, classroom is a place. It should be undisturbed place which promotes learning. It provides the learning environment to the teacher, to the faculty, as well as the students. This is a place, this is a, this is a place where there should be no hindrance between teaching and learning. Okay, the place should be free of any kind of disturbance so that the knowledge which a teacher possesses can be passed on to the student. Okay, and we should take care of students' behavior during our classrooms or in our classrooms. Second word that we have is psychology. What do we understand by psychology? Basically, in a very simple terms, if I would like to mention here is, when I say the word psychology, it actually means study of mind and behavior. But what we have to do in classroom, we need to manage the behavior of our students. This is very important. As I just now mentioned, we are not controlling the behavior of students in class anymore. We are managing their behavior. Means the time has gone when we used to punish the students for anything that they might have done wrong, or we are rewarding our students. So it is not about punishing, or it is not about rewarding them, but it is about making them behave in such a way that help them in gaining most out of the classroom. Okay, most out of for what they are there in that classroom. Okay, that is
Excuse
why we
me.
are trying to. Yes, please.
Sorry to disturb you. Ma'am, your screen is not visible, ma'am. Your presentation screen.
Is it because I have shared the full window, because now the full window shows that PPT? Probably that is why my camera is not visible, because from my side my camera is working.
Ma'am, that's not the problem, ma'am. That is what I'm trying to say is the slide is not visible. The
But
present,
that is also that is also, if you want to share, you can share it from your side, please, because from
yeah,
my side it is visible.
no problem, ma'am. I'll share it, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So shall I stop sharing my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So everything is fine now? Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I was talking about that we are actually trying to understand the classroom psychology, or we are trying to study the behavior of our students. We have to understand the behavior of our students. So when I say the word psychology, it is not only about understanding the behavior of our student, or probably I can say that it is the lowermost stage of studying the psychology, where we are trying to study the behavior of our students. From behavior, we need to move ahead and try to study the consciousness of our student. Then we can study the mind of our student, and ultimately we can call it studying the soul of our student. So that is why we can mention here, or we can, I can say here that psychology, or psychology is a science of soul, from where the meaning and historical background of psychology was derived, because psychology is known as science of soul. So the word psychology is derived from the Greek word called psycho and logos. So it's a combination of two words. We call it psycho and logos, where psycho means soul and logos means science. So that means psychology is science of soul. Then it is a, why do we call it scientific? It is a study basically, but we call it a scientific study because it is systematic study of some observable events, or we call it behavior. Okay, the behavior can be unlearned behavior, behavior can be learned behavior as well. We call behavior is unlearned process when it includes immediate reflexes or physiological process or our instinct, which comes automatically. Nobody is pushing us to behave in such a manner. This is something unlearned. Okay, when I announce a sudden or a mock test or maybe a surprise test in the class, a sudden shock comes in the mind of students. This is something we call unlearned. Nobody was doing it intentionally. Okay, but the same behavior can be the learned behavior, because all behavior can be called learned when it is acquired through practice. Since our students, when we are getting our students at higher education institutions, they are being through the school level studies. Okay, since then they were taught that getting more marks is good for them. Okay, ultimately they are going to get best out of their good marks. They are going to make their career, and somehow the career is based on marks. Okay, so whenever a student is getting less marks, their behavior is not favorable. And when the students are getting good marks, they feel happy. This is something, this is the behavior that was learned, that was acquired in past so many years. But at times the behavior is unlearned as well, which is instinct, which is coming out of reflexes. So based on all this, today we can say that psychology is a scientific method of collecting data about individual and groups to analyze and predict their behavior as a whole. Please come to the next slide. So based on this theory or based on this background, the definition of psychologies are given by different psychologists around the world. There are only two definitions that I have mentioned here, though there are a number of definitions which are available. So one of the very famous definition, which was given by Woodworth and Marquez, he said that psychology is the scientific study of the activities of the individual in relation to his environment. So when I say the word environment, it not only includes the physiological environment that is around us, it also includes the people who are around us. Okay, so for students, a teacher is also part of the environment. The kind of we providing to the student, they are going to behave according to that. So as a faculty or as a teacher, our responsibility doesn't end when we end or is not limited to when we enter the class or when we are leaving the class. Okay, our responsibility actually goes beyond the class as well. Okay, and there is another definition which was given by N.L. Mann, and he mentioned that psychology today concerns itself with a scientific investigation of behavior. So it was a part of arts long time back, but now it is a part of science because it is scientific investigation. Further, we will discuss there are a number of methods that are used to study psychology nowadays, scientifically proven methods that scientists are using to study the psychology. Okay, please come to the next slide. So psychology as a whole, or psychology, when I say the word psychology, generally what happens, people relate the word psychology to something called mental illness. Okay, we actually relate whenever the word psychology comes to the mind, somehow we are able to relate it to the word counselors, therapy. Okay, but it is not so. This is how psychology as a whole is observed or is taken, but it is not so. It is something that help people in counseling type of situation. Probably they need some kind of help, and that help may be provided by studying psychology. Okay, the same goes with our students. Okay, they may also require some time of some that there are some students who can come to you directly and can discuss their, but at the same time there are many students in our class who are facing problem and they don't even come to you to discuss what they are going through. Okay, so it is our responsibility, our duty to understand what is going on with our students. Okay, so psychology is also a way of providing help in studying the day-to-day life of people. Okay, it is It is something which is answering questions like why we are behaving in a particular manner to a certain situation. Why do people actually resist to anything? We often call change is something which is constant. But why is it so? There is always resistance toward any kind of change which is coming to our life. Okay, why fall in love? Okay, why do we feel angry towards somebody at times? Okay, school going students with a thought process to higher education institutions. Why is it so? Okay, the answer to these questions comes when we try to study psychology and we are trying to apply this to our students as faculty members. There are different branches of psychologies which are available, and these are majorly categorized into two parts. One is basic branch, another is applied branch. So when we talk about basic branch, it includes experimental psychology, social psychology, developmental psychology, abnormal psychology, general psychology. So if we are going to going to discuss about all these things, this 1 hour session, we are not able to cover so many things. But at the same time, there is another branch of psychology which includes personality psychology, health psychology, forensic psychology, industrial psychology, clinical psychology, and learner psychology. Our focus will be here today. We also call it classroom psychology or education psychology or learner psychology. This is our focus. So we'll be discussing a branch of psychology which is an applied branch and under which we are going to talk more about learners psychology today. Okay, please come to the next slide. Okay, so our focus for the day will be learner psychology. We also call it classroom psychology. So it is a branch of psychology which is concerned with the scientific study of human learning. And to be more specific, when we relate it to classroom psychology, it is more specific to learning the behavior of our students in the class. So it is nothing but one of the branch of applied psychology, and it is an attempt to apply the knowledge of psychology to the field of education. And our focus will be higher education institution today. It may also be said that learner psychology is the study of experience and behavior of learner. Learner means our students in relation to learner's environment. Now, there are a number of factors that affect learner environment. We are going to discuss these factors as well when we are moving further. So these are few of the definitions, or I can say the famous definitions which were given by famous psychologists about classroom psychology or learner psychology. One of the definition which was given by Crow and Crow, he said that learner psychology describes and explains the learning experience of an individual from birth through old age. So right from the birth, right from the people they are born, because till the time we are alive, we are learning new things. Okay, the moment we stop learning new things, there is the purpose of living is almost finished. So till the time we are alive, we are every day learning new things. When we were students, we were learning new things. Even as a teachers, we need to adapt new things very fastly to get accommodated to our classrooms. The teachers who were not using computers, who were against AI, use of AI, are now adapting AI so that this can be implemented to their classroom teachings, as well as the most important part nowadays, which is there in higher education institution, that is research. So we apply these kind of things in academics as well as research. We call it AI, and we have adapted this with time. We were only a few months ago, we were unaware of these kind of things that are existing, but now it's a part of our day-to-day life. This is how we are changing and we are learning. Okay, then there is another definition which was given by Peel, who said that learner psychology is the science of learning. So when we are studying psychology, or we are studying to understand the psychology or behavior, it is also a science of learning. So first of all, we have to adapt that science of learning in ourselves. then it is that branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning. This was the definition which was given as stimulus. The next slide. Okay. So these are the objectives. Why do we need to understand? Why do we need to study learner psychology and how it is related to teaching and learning processes? So there are many reasons, though. I have listed almost all the possible reasons because of which we are studying or we are talking today here in this session, or we are discussing these things in this session today. So these are the first and foremost reason why we need to study learner psychology is to know our learner. Our learner is our student. To know them, to understand what today's student is expecting. Okay, we need to understand their psychology first. I'm teaching for past, say, 15, 16 years. There was a time when students never used to have mobile phones. Then the time has come when the students are, taking their mobile phones to the classes. And I was one of those teachers who were not allowing students to take mobile phones. I used to ask them to keep their phone either on silent mode or to keep their phone outside the class. But as the time passed or as the time is changing, I cannot stop my students nowadays to take their mobiles to their classes. But I have to change myself according to the situation, that how I can best utilize my students carrying mobile phone to their classes. So I plan my class according to that, wherein I can engage my students in such a way that they can use their mobile phone and still they can participate in activities, so that we can do. I plan a different type of quizzes. I share these quizzes to them on their mobile phones only and ask them to attend their quizzes on the mobile phone. This is how I am giving them liberty to use their phones in the class. Okay, so I need to understand my learner. I have to adapt that change. I implement that change in my class. Okay, so that these can be easily acceptable by the students as well as for me, and it makes our teaching learning process smooth. Okay, so this understanding of psychology also helps us in selecting and organizing the subject matter or the learning experience. As I said, the time has gone when we used to have the subjective assessment thing, and the exams are to be done at the year end. But now the learning and assessment is a regular process. So we are more of formative assessment followers nowadays. So doing this kind of exercises on a regular basis in classroom helps us as a teacher to understand that what our students have learned, and also it is giving the platform to the students that they can also come up and ask if they are facing any problem. Okay, so another reason could be this studying of psychology helps us to suggest the art and technique of learning as well as teaching. So I just now gave this example of allowing the student the mobile phone in classroom and sharing quizzes with them. So I have changed the technique of evaluation in class. Then we can arrange learning situation or environment according to that. I can prepare my class, my topic according to the environment, according to the situation. At times we are taking class in the classroom. At times we are taking class in the labs. And it may also be possible when the class size is not very big. I often take my class to the garden, or some open area where we can sit and discuss on some topic. So I keep on changing the environment. There are few reasons behind this. First of all, the situation is not becoming the monotonous. It may this kind of simple changes, create new kind of, or a new kind of excitement, feels new kind of excitement in class. Okay, it also helps our students to get acquainted with the mechanism of heredity and the environment. They are also now very adaptable to this. Okay, and it is from students I don't want, they go out and discuss this thing open area today. Okay, so this is how students are also getting used to of that environment. Now they are not taking these mock exams or this test as a shock. Okay, because now they are getting used to. Then it also helps maintaining discipline in class. Okay, and helps us in rendering the guiding service. When we what our students are looking for, we are better able to guide them. Okay, it helps us in evaluation. This is how I have slowly assessment to formative assessment. Now I'm able to regularly assess where my student is actually standing in the class, who needs extra care, and which student is actually capable of doing the things on his or on those students. We have this category of, probably you must also be having such kind of categories in your university or colleges as well, wherein the category when the students are divided into slow learners and fast learners. So we can give them assessments, we can give them assignments or activities according to their learning capacity. So those who are fast learners, so apart from PG students, give them additional assignments like participation in conferences at various institutions, participation in this or different type of activities at different. Then we arrange them going through in a best possible manner, and this leads to classroom problems. Okay, and students, not just students, are also able to know ourselves during the process. It may also be helpful for teaching as well as for learning. Okay, when you and your students are coming on class, we as a teacher will enjoy teaching class, the student will also eat to class. Okay, there are teachers in our institution only, and I was teaching and enter in my class late. Okay, I was a kind of strict teacher at that time. Probably that was a beginning of my career, and with time I realized that being strict is something won't work for a long time. So with I focus projected myself as an example. I always go to my class before time. Okay, then students are getting eager to come to the class on time. Otherwise, they are going to miss something. Okay, so this is how I motivate myself, and indirectly, if teacher is motivated, you are able to motivate your students as well to come to the class on time. And as a result, this actually happens. This is something I have faced in past so many years, that students to class regularly and on time. Okay, I don't have to be strict with my students anymore. Then it also helps us in understanding that how can we handle groups. Okay, so we give them group assignment, them option to study in group, and also observe how the students are behaving in group. We can understand that how group is behaving. So all this, if we are able to understand our learner and the psychology, okay, their behavior, their mindset behind the teaching learning process. Okay, so that is why it is required to understand or to learn the learner psychology as a faculty member as well. Please come to the next slide. Okay, so this is about learning. What is learning? We talked a lot about psychology. We talked about learning. By all means is an attempt to build and shape the behavior of students. So as a teacher, I try my best, as I mentioned in the duty is not starts with their entry in the exit from the class. It goes beyond classroom as well. Okay, so as a teacher, uh, I am doing teaching, but learning is you are not control. You are able to manage the behavior of student. You are able to the student at the end. Okay, you might be facing about the studies that they are doing in the class. There are students who are polite. There are students who are not polite while they are the students have altogether different type of behavior. It is like we cannot, all our five fingers are not similar in our hand as well. So all the students are cannot be judged on the same parameters. So as a teacher, we understand the behavior and to us, we should be able to mold and shape their behavior. And this is how we can. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible? Please confirm.
Ma'am, it's sort of disturbing only, ma'am. Ma'am, I think if you pause your, sorry, if you just put off your video, no, I think it will be in a proper way. Maybe we'll be able to get the network, ma'am. That is a sort of a breakage in your voice.
Is it okay? Is it fine now? Please confirm.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's audible, ma'am.
Okay. About learning. So basically, from a teacher's point of view, learning can be all means, all possible means that a teacher to take the to attempt to mold the behavior of the students in the class. So the aim behind this is to produce desirable development of their personalities. So we can change our student, and at the end, when they are leaving the institution, there should be change in their behavior. As a teacher, my responsibility is complete. Now, also, the essential knowledge and skills to this job satisfactorily are supplied. The definition or this thought is put in by Pease in his words, and he said that learner psychology helps the teacher to understand the development of his pupil, the range, and social relation. A 360-degree process. Mm, Please come to the next slide. Is to afford a thorough knowledge of the nature of students. So the first thing that we will get help after studying or when we are able to study learner psychology is we are able to understand the nature of our student, and we can we can try our best to mold that behavior if required. Okay, as a teacher we can give our input so that we can able or let the student learn for which he or she is there in the class. It also helps us to provide an understanding of the nature, aims and purpose of learning as well. Okay, there should be purpose. There is a purpose for which the student is coming to the class. Try to understand that purpose, and if reality with the technical vocabulary and to further understanding and appreciation of scientific procedure by which the data of learners only by observing the behavior we are able to we are going to discuss the methods as well. So there are a number of ways, or we can always, gather the data. So it is not so that when we are going to the first class, we easily understand the behavior of our learners, or in the second class, we are able to understand the behavior of a learner. It's a regular process. When we are meeting the same person after every class, we may note down the behavior. As a teacher, we may note down the behavior. We can create a data set. According to that, we can, act or react in the classroom. Okay, so learner psychology also provide a significant knowledge of development process. So how we can promote our student, how we can guide our student, how we can control their, mental status, how we can provide them, moral ideas and things. So these things are only possible if we are able to understand their psychology. So it is also possible to provide an understanding of principles governing learning together with the knowledge of techniques for guiding improvement in learning and their application to the practical problem in the class. So it is not only that we are just guiding them in theory or just the theory thing, we are also teaching them how to practically apply these things outside their class. Okay. And also to present the theories as a measurement and evaluation of mental abilities, aptitudes, achievement, interest, and personality organization. So it is our duty as a faculty that how we are able to take our students to understand their mental abilities, their capacities, their interests, and how we can help them in developing their personality as a whole. Please come to the next slide. Okay. So these are the areas which are concerned with the problems. Okay, problems that our learners might be facing. Like they might be facing these questions like how do children acquire skills? What is their thought process? How with age they are developing? Okay, when is learning more effective? Okay, what is the right time of taking what kind of subject in the class? What is the right time of talking to the students according to any specific topic that you want to, within the class or outside the class? It may be possible that you want to share something with the students. Sometimes the situation is so that you can share that within the class, but at times it may be possible that you should, as we as a teacher should not share these things in front of the class, and we may always call our students outside the class and discuss if he or she is going through something. Okay, then what are the factors that helps the learning process? What all contributes to the learning process? Is teachers knowledge? Okay, is it the technique that you are using for the teaching? It is the presence of mind of the student in the class. Okay, what are the factors that affect the amount of how would is it possible for me to measure after every class that students are able to understand it? Or is there any questions into the mind of learners, that does the study of Sanskrit help Sanskrit, or Hindi is better, or Sanskrit is better? So these kind of problems students are often with, for which there is no answer or there is no questions to them. We can be that answer wider to them that they are going through, to pick those areas of wherein they are. Hello, ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, but there's a lot of disturbance in your presentation, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I hope it is better now. I've changed my place.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, please come to the next slide then. Okay. Then there are psychological problems that are faced by the students, which are often ignored by the teachers who don't understand. Okay, first and foremost is procrastination. Okay, what do we understand by the term procrastination? Basically, it is the act of putting off doing something that you should do till another day or another time. We can. It is the act of delaying things for no reason, no specific reason, basically. just because you don't want to do it. And this is something we often face. This is something actually happens with the students, which led to bad scores, bad grades, and sometimes it may lead to failure as well. But we feel as if the student don't want to do this. Okay, but he or she might be suffering from something that we don't understand. Okay, so we may discuss this with our students and try to solve this problem if he or she is facing any problem which may lead to this procrastination. Okay, then there is another problem, we call it perfectionism. And there are students who want to do things so perfectly that, suppose you have given some assignment, the students are delaying submission of the assignment because they want to do it perfectly. They want to do this in a perfect manner, but to do it perfectly they are missing the timelines. Okay, which may be, and it may also be possible, if they are not able to do it perfectly, it may affect their psychology, it may affect their behavior. There are people who want to be perfectionist all the time. There are students as well who want to be perfect all the time, and if they are not able to achieve this, this may lead to some kind of depression, some kind of anxiety they are going through. And not just the general anxiety, they may also go through some kind of social anxiety, because this is into their behavior now, which may further lead to their low life satisfaction. They feel low on their self worth, self esteem. Okay, which may further lead to uh, decreased productivity. So, we may help our students to come out of this, and we can tell them it is okay not to be perfect all the time. That is fine. Then it may also be possible that I just now mentioned that they may go through some kind of low self esteem. Okay, this is a sign of, yes, we can call it some kind of health issue, probably a kind of mental issue the person is going through. They are keeping themselves at low esteem. Okay, this may create some kind of anxiety, some kind of stress, and the students may keep them alone also. They may go through some kind of loneliness as well, and it may lead to some depression related situation as well. They may develop some kind of unhelpful habits like smoking, drinking, etc., when they are going through low self esteem. So we are the one who can help our students in handling these things as well. They may go through some kind of anxiety and stress. It's a kind of social behavioral problem. Okay, it may further lead to poor performance, learning disability, and they may start neglecting hygiene practices as well, poor self care. Okay, this may be because of some kind of stress, anxiety, or depression they might be going through. And there is one problem which is at times ignored. We call it weak communication. Okay, as a teacher, we are often giving student a chance to come and speak. We think that he or she might not be feeling like sharing or don't want to share it, but it may be possible that there is a communication gap because of which he or she is not able to share with us. So language is not only thing. Language is not the only thing which leads to weak communication. There are other factors also which affects the communication between a teacher and the learner. And if two parties, it may affect the academic process, academic progress as well. Okay, there may be difficulty in understanding and expressing themselves. The students may started avoiding attending classes. They may face difficulty in attempting some kind of assessments or tests that you are going through, but they are not able to communicate it with you. Okay, so we have to find out the way that how this can be done, where the student can come to you directly and they can share what they are going through. Okay, please come to the next slide. Now, these are the major areas which are generally covered by learner psychology. Okay, there are six major. We may also call these the factors that affects the overall learner psychology. These are the areas which are covered when we are talking about learner psychology. The first one is learner which we are talking since we have started this session. The learner is student in our case. We need to know them. We need to know our student. We need to know that how we can deal with the different students with different behaviors. Okay, because every individual is different. Every personality is different. Okay, we cannot say that these two students are alike because somewhere their behavior is different from one another. Uh, we need to understand their conscious as well as up to a certain extent their unconscious behavior as well. Okay, we can point out these characteristics of development and growth from their childhood to adulthood if we are able to understand the learner pretty well. And then the second factor can be the learning process. Okay, learning process or learning is the experience to be provided with easiest possible way, with the ease in learning experience. So the easier possible way we as a teacher can attempt to teach, it would be easier for them to learn, and they will be more than happy to come to the class. And not just this, they will be talking to you or feel comfortable talking to you as a teacher as well. Okay, so this will help them in remembering, understanding, perceiving, and uh, this may also lead them in problem solving situation, thinking, training themselves that how they can deal in any kind of situation, or especially when they are in trouble. Okay, so this process, when the learning process is smooth, they will be able to adapt to the situation that they have. The next one is learning situation. So to be specific, when I'm saying the word learning situation, I'm more of talking about the classroom environment. Okay, the environment that we are providing. So earlier also I have mentioned the classroom doesn't mean the four walls and the terrace that we have in our class. It means the people we are surrounded with. Okay, how we are talking to the student, the methodology that we are using to teach in our class, how we are handling their queries, how we are handling the environment of the class. Okay, so we have to make this as much comfortable as possible for our students. Okay, to come to the class, to adapt to that environment, and to learn best possible in the classroom. And this is from the students' point of view, from the learner's point of view. So when I say from the teacher's point of view, it is teaching situation. Okay, when I say the word teaching situation, it is more of what pedagogy that we are using in teaching. Okay, we have to change our methodologies according to the age group we are handling. There is a difference in teaching UG students, undergrad students, and postgrad students, even in higher education. Okay, so how we can change our teaching methodology according to their age, according to their mental level, according to their previous or past knowledge that they are possessing, according to their interests that they have. So this is how we can change the teaching situation, or we can modify ourselves according to the teaching situation that we have. Then we have the evaluation process, evaluation of the learning performance. We have shared our knowledge, the students have learned. Now then there is a time that we need to evaluate that how much they are actually able to learn what we have shared, right? So I've mentioned this word earlier also. We call it formative assessment. So this is the the thing that must be followed. That is actually followed in most of the universities nowadays. Okay. Earlier there was a situation of summative assessment, but now the things have changed, and now adaptability of formative assessment is very common. And this is done for the development of our learners. Okay, we would be able to understand where the student is standing after, say, half of the semester or end of the semester, and according to that, we can change the teaching situation if required. Okay, we can take some counseling session, or we can do some guidance if required after evaluating our learners. And then uh, after these walls, this the teacher, we call it the terrace of our classroom. This is us, we. maybe it is placed last in the list, but it is the most important one, because we need to know ourselves first. Before understanding the psychology of student, we as a faculty need to understand ourselves first. We need to know ourselves first. Our personality traits, our interest, our attitude, characteristics that we possess, or characteristics that we may develop to make our teaching effective. Okay, how we can handle stress and anxiety in class. There might be possible that we may come across a situation where the student have asked something and we are not aware of that particular answer to that, and we don't understand how to handle that particular situation or how to answer that question. It may be possible that they might be asking related to the subject and off subject as well. So this is our calmness, this is our understanding, our way of handling that situation, that how we can answer the situation. So this is something we need to keep in our mind, okay, when we are handling our class. So these are the major areas which should be covered when we are trying to understand the learner psychology. Please come to the next slide. Now, these are the methods of understanding the psychology. As I mentioned that the psychology is a kind more of it is a kind of art, but yes, it is a scientific thing now as well. So there are methods, there are three methods. Majorly, these are the three methods of studying psychology of learning. One is introspection method, then observation method, and third one is experimental method. We will discuss these one by one. Please come to the next slide. The first one is introspection method. So introspection method is a method of self-observation. Okay. It is derived from the Latin word which includes intro and aspection. Intro means within me, aspection means looking. When we are looking in ourselves, looking into ourselves. So it is a method where individual is looking within themselves first. So there are three stages of this method. Now, during the observation of external object, the person means to ponder over his mental state. So when I am judging somebody else, it may be possible that we call it a halo effect. Whatever I'm possessing in my mind, I'm trying to applying this on the same person, but it should not be so. Okay, I have to be unbiased when I am trying to observe somebody else. Okay, so before doing or before judging somebody else, I need to check myself first. I need to check my own mental state first. And then the person begins to question the working of his own mind, how I think, how I analyze things. Okay, then he may try to frame the laws and conditions of mental process, and he thinks in terms of improving his reasoning or control of his emotional stage. And then when I gain this understanding, I may start working on that, how I can change my emotional state or I can change my mental state according to the situation. As I've given the example as well that during last 15, 16 years, how I have evolved as a teacher. Okay, probably in the beginning, I was young or I was new to the system, and with time I have gained this thing that how to manage my class pretty well, how I can handle my students' queries um, with the best possible way of satisfying their queries. Right? Please come to the next slide. Okay, the next method is observation method. As the name suggests, observation deals with the overt behavior of person in an appropriate situation. Okay, when the situation is proper, fit in, nothing unexpected is happening, just a regular day-to-day life or day-to-day situation is going on, and then you are observing it minutely. Okay, so observation has been defined as measurement without any instrument. You are observing, you are noticing something, you are taking note of it, and based on that, the notes that you have made or the data that you have created, you have done some kind of analysis, and based on that analysis, you came to or you come to some kind of conclusion based on which you are now able to generalize things. Okay, so it also has four stages. First one is observation of the behavior. So it is nothing but as a teacher, you are quietly going to the class, you are observing the behavior, okay, of the students who are there in the class, and then you are coming back whenever you are coming back to the student. coming back from the class, and you may start taking notes of it, because it may be possible that you may forget it later. So it is better to start making notes related to this, and it will make the observation more objective by keeping the notes, by keeping a regular note of it. And then when I have sufficient notes, or I can say sufficient data with me, then I can analyze and interpret the behavior. And based on my analysis and interpretation of the data that I have collected, now it is possible for me to make certain generalization. Generalization as in, I'm able to draw, um, uh, able to draw meaning. No, like data is something which is available in abundance, but converting the data into some kind of information, okay, and converting that information into the wisdom, okay, this is how we are narrow it down, the from data to converting into a wisdom by generalizing, by starting from the observation to reaching to the generalization state. So this is how the observation method actually works. Okay, please come to the next slide. And this is the last one, which is very common in, especially in humanities research. And to be specific, when we are trying to study the behavioral sciences, or the subjects in which studying the behavior is important. So this method was introduced in year 1879 by William Wundt, and he established the first psychological lab in Germany. And the experimental method consists of actions performed under pre-arranged or rigidly controlled conditions. So when people are called to this lab, there is a proper arrangement was done in the lab. People were made sit and they were observed for a certain period of time. So the experimentation is where the investigator controls the educative factor to which a group or students are subjected during the period of inquiry, and observe the resulting achievement. So the same thing is applicable in this experimental method. So J.W. Best described this method as the description and analysis of what will be or what will occur under carefully controlled situation. When the situation is under control, then how people are going to behave. Okay, there are 6 steps in this method, which is clearly applicable, as I mentioned, in humanities research. So first of all, we need to identify the problem, where the problem is, why there is need of doing any kind of experiment. We need to find out that. We need to have that problem statement with us. Based on this problem statement, we formulate hypothesis. Okay, we make our assumptions based on the problem that we have. And once we have these assumptions, once we have this hypothesis, we can make distinction between independent and dependent variables. The variables that we are keeping or considering under the study, we need to differentiate them. We need to segregate them under independent and dependent variables. Then we have to have that controlling situation where we are able to control the situational variables, okay, controlled variables. And once we are able to do this, then the next thing is we can apply various tools for analyzing the for first doing the data analysis, and after analysis we need to or we need we have to interpret the results that we are getting analysis. And once we have done the interpretation, then we have to check whether our hypothesis is accepted or not. Okay, so we have to verify our hypothesis at this stage. So here we can conclude after this verification whether our experiment, what kind of results our experiment is going to give. So this is about experimental method, and this is all about the classroom psychology for today's session. So if there is any question, you are most welcome to ask.
Thank you,
Here
ma'am.
I have mentioned this. Yes, please.
Participants, the session is open up for discussion. You can post your queries in the chat box also. Participants, any queries?